Hello, once again, we're back, and tonight we're going to talk a little bit about justice in America and injustice in America. And the pictures you're looking at right now are the people who work at the Department of Justice, and Eric Holder is the previous general, and now we have General Sessions, and apparently nothing has changed. So we're going to talk a little bit about what is justice in the United States today, and I have three examples for you. And we're going to start out with justice is being out of control. I have a slide I'd like to roll to and show you that this is very important. These three guys here are what we're going to talk about, and what happened to these three guys in the court system, and you can determine whether or not we have justice or not justice. The first one is Paul Manafort. He worked for President Trump for 3 months on his campaign. The second one is Michael Cohen. He worked for Donald Trump sporadically before he became president. And Imran Awan is the IT guy who got busted stealing property from Debbie Wasserman Schultz and other congressmen in Washington. And they all got pretty much the same charges. And so we're going to look at how they were charged. First is Manafort. His home was raided by the FBI, and he was charged with conspiracy, bank fraud, tax evasion, and failure to report foreign bank account. Faces decades in jail. There was no plea. The second one, Michael Cohen, his home office was raided by the FBI. He was charged with tax evasion and bank fraud. He has 3 to 5 years that he will get. There was a plea deal. And the third, Imran Awan, his home was not raided by the FBI. They have been charged with conspiracy, bank fraud, false statements on a loan application, unlawful monetary transactions, including sending money abroad, and sentence time served. He didn't get any jail at all. He got off scot-free. So what I want to do is take a look at how did that happen. So as we move on, we'll look at this slide, and this is the prosecutor who prosecuted Manafort. Now we want to talk about what happened there. Hold on a second here. The prosecutor in that case was Greg Andrews. That's the guy on the left. And he is a partner with liberal organization, a law firm named Davis, Polk, and Waldwell law firm. And he left that firm to go to work for Robert Mueller's Russian investigation team to prosecute Manafort. So that's where he came from, to prosecute Manafort. So he's the guy who went after him in that court case. And next is Michael Cohen. His case was Kimball Wood. That's the one in the middle. She is the judge there. New York judge overseeing Trump former attorney Michael Cohen case. The New York, she's very heavily connected to the Clintons through many years going back. She was their choice for attorney general and had to give that job up instead of getting it because she had a scandal breakout about having illegal aliens working at her houses, and in the 90s that was not so good, so she didn't become attorney general, or she would have been the attorney general during the Clinton era. She also officiated over the marriage of George Soros and his wife. Now she definitely has some bias, and she was the judge in that case. Tatiana Martin. Now, she should have recused herself, actually. There's that much bias. Tatiana Martin, the lady on the right, she was the lead prosecutor, and she was Greg Andrews' boss in that prosecution there. She also is a Soros Fellow for New Americans, an organization run by George Soros. Tatiana oversaw the investigation of Michael Cohen, which is the number 2 guy we were talking about. And her partner left and went to work for, that's the guy on the left there, Greg Andrews. She replaced him at that law firm. So it's sort of a merry-go-round with that law firm and what's going on in Washington in the lawsuits. Now we're going to move on to number 4 slide, and this is Cohen's attorney. This is one thing that is kind of curious. His name is Lanny Davis, and he is Cohen's attorney, and he's working pro bono, and he's pictured with his friend Hillary Clinton. And it's kind of odd that that's happening, because Why is her friend and fellow attorney defending a guy who's being charged with these serious crimes, serious enough to go to jail? And that question will have to be answered, but she has her friend defending this guy, Cohen. The next slide is Imran Awan. Now, he's the guy in the middle on the right side of that page, and there's a Barack Obama there. That's the IT guy. And Wasserman Schultz is next to him, and the judge is on the left. Now, what's interesting about this is, if you understand what this guy did, he robbed the people he was working for, which were about 30 to 40 Democrat congressmen, and he was their IT guy, and Wasserman Schultz was one of them. She hired him. They paid him 5 times more than the average IT guy would be paid for doing the same job. Explanation has never been put out. He stole equipment, he double billed, he did numerous things that were illegal while working for them, but at the same time he's suspected of doing some hacking, and he had access to all of these computers because he was able to work on all of these computers, and he got busted. Well, what happened to him? He somehow ended up in Judge Tanya Chutkin's courtroom. And why is that significant? Well, she is a great big heavy Barack Obama campaign supporter. She gave him over $4,000 in campaign cash, and so did her husband, and her wife, her mother-in-law also gave her money. So she's very tainted there, and she should have recused herself, is the point. She is with her former law firm, gave $1.2 million to the DNC and the Obama campaign in 2012. So, and also Barack Obama appointed her husband as a judge. So she should have recused herself, but she has a habit of not recusing herself when she should. She dismissed a very important case, an H-1B immigration case against Obama's DHS. And what happened was she should have recused herself because she had a family member at a very high level of that agency whenever this lawsuit was brought against him, and she dismissed it. And what was the lawsuit? It was the case where people were being brought in from other countries and taking jobs from Americans, and the Americans were put out of jobs. And there was a lawsuit by those people who got thrown out of jobs, and they wanted to know how that's happening, and she dismissed the whole case, so they lost their jobs, and new immigrants took their jobs. The next one is slide 6. This is Imran's attorney, Christopher Gowan. Now, Christopher Gowan is worked for and is very well connected to Bill and Hillary Clinton, worked on Hillary Clinton's campaign for Secretary of State, and he was an advanced operations guy for Hillary's 2008 presidential campaign. So the question I had there was, why is he being protected and defended by the Clintons, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and all 40 of those Democrat congressmen wrote letters to the judge to ask that he get leniency. Nobody understands any of this, but he got no crime whatsoever, and that question has to be asked, is how does he get away with nothing and the other 2 guys get severe punishment? So I just wanted to show this to you and ask you to think about it. Why are these people who are Imran robbed defending him? They gave him an attorney, they stacked the prosecutor in there, and the judge. There was no chance this guy was going to come out with anything except getting off, and he went back to Pakistan, where he's from. So I just thought those were interesting things. And just a couple more tidbits here. The prosecutor questions here. The brother of Debbie Wasserman Schultz is Stephen Wasserman, and that's him right there on the left-hand side. And he's buddy with the other Cohen, who was the prosecutor in the case that was going after the people who robbed Debbie Wasserman Schultz, if you can make sense of that, which is confusing. But her brother, Steve Wasserman, is also an assistant attorney in Washington, D.C., and he's not prosecuting the Awan case. And this is where the confusion enters. The prosecutor in Michael Cohen's case is Michael Morando. I mean, Imran's case is Michael Morando. And he's married to a lady named Joanna Wasserman. Now, I don't know the significance of that, but it just sounds kind of strange that all of these people are connected and they all helped a guy get off who just got finished robbing congressmen, including Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So I'll leave you with, you figure out how that happened. And one last case here is Judge Shulkin. Now this one kind of blew me away. Fusion GPS is connected to Bruce Orr and Nellie Orr, and they're involved in this investigation. With Fusion GPS came up with the scandalous dossier that has been disputed and refuted, but somehow what comes before Shutkin on this case is Glenn Simpson, his firm went to court to keep the Congress from looking at his books and his billing in their investigation, and she ruled that all of these documents would be sealed, so Congress cannot look at what these people were doing and look at those records. Now, all the way down the line, all of these people have been connected. And I will leave that with you to decide what it means, but there's no disputing that these people all know each other, are very well connected politically, and are doing strange things. Yes, so we're going to go back to this one, which is the General Sessions and Eric Holder. Justice is not enough, or not something that should be politicized by either party. The American people deserve better. Unfortunately, if our justice system can destroy people with power and money, the average guy like you and me should be very afraid, because we could not withstand this legal pressure that these people have gone under. And that is one of the most important things I think we can all remember when you think about the people I just showed you in the court cases, of how obviously there was not justice across the board there. There was a great deal of injustice, and there's a great deal of fixing the outcome by selecting judges, prosecutors, and even attorneys who are all rooting for the same team and not necessarily looking for justice. I don't know how Imran goes free and Manafort is facing 20 or 30 years for the exact same crimes. That should make anybody wonder, because if they can do it to those guys, regardless of your personal political views, if they can do it to them, you better be afraid, because they could also do it to you. And that's what I wanted to leave you with tonight. I'm your host, Bob Connors. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Today's History, Upper Ohio Valley. We'll see you next time.